So if you or anyone you know is involved in a Yu-Gi-Oh cult and you need help...
My dad believes in witches. Greetings, friends and foes, and welcome along to episode 28 of Keep Your Friends Close and Your Animes Closer. This is, as always, Joel, your anime lecturer.
And I'm Robert, your anime freshman student.
And I'm Curtis, the anime cleaner in the hallway, popping my head in again.
Oh, you dang old. Sorting out those really hard equations.
For the most avid listeners, I think you've been a teacher, I was a student, and you were the janitor.
But now we've escalated it to
now we've actually got to university,
Yeah.
but we've kept the exact same roles.
Yeah.
It only occurred to me when you said cleaner in the hallway that I was
Right.
like, you've definitely been a janitor.
I was waiting for him to do that.
We're starting to cycle back.
I put my name at the front so that I didn't forget it.
it was noticed. Cool.
This is a podcast where we all watch one anime show and then talk about the other Japanese, I guess, related stuff that we did in the week. This episode, we watched the last few episodes 10, 11, 12, and 13 of Violet Evergarden. I thought that 13 would be an OVA, but that's episode 14, which only came out like a few days ago and is not available anywhere online. Dum. But before we talk about Violet Evergarden, last time on KYFCaYAC. So I don't know. I think I enter a different brain space when we record, and it didn't click with me when you brought it up the past couple of times. But so you've watched Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh now, and I have some childhood stories of Yu-Gi-Oh and Digimon that I completely forgot about until I was editing one of the previous podcasts, and you were like, "I've gone through all the influential ones, Yu-Gi-Oh, Digimon." So first one is at the end of Digimon Adventure 1. I was watching it at my dad's, and they have just escaped the digital world, like, finally.
So the entire Adventure 1 is them trying to get out of the
I think,
computer.
I think they escape and they have to go back.
Oh.
It's a little bit back. It's a little bit hazy. But Digimon have now entered the real world and are fucking shit up. And the main antagonist of the second arc of that first series, Myotismon, who's just a sexy vampire, he is the one that they're like, we can't let him get here, he's going to ruin everything. And they're driving around trying to figure out, like, because all these portals are opening up, and they're driving around trying to figure out where Myotismon is going to pop up. And my dad walks in just as the main guy's dad is like, 666, and they're like, what? And then he's like, the devil will rise at 666. And my dad's like, what the flip are you watching? Get this. And I was like, no, Dad, you don't get. He's the bad guy, and he's like, get this trash off. Comes and turns it off. But I was like, he's the bad guy, Dad. I was like 6 or something.
It's okay for him to be at the same
and then
times.
Venom Myotismon shows up at 6 minutes and 6 seconds past 6.
Shit.
Yeah, but I remember getting in lots of trouble, and I wasn't allowed to watch Digimon at my dad's anymore. He's strangely okay with Pokemon, even though they evolve. Yeah, my dad. But they Digivolve, which is not evolving, so that's why he let me watch Digimon. Yeah, anyways. Second story, which is a Yu-Gi-Oh story, is I remember I got my first booster pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and they're like $12, and it was like shithouse cards. They couldn't do nothing with them. They were all trash, garbage. You wouldn't build a deck with these babies. But I was really happy to have like my first 12 cards. I took them to my dad's, and I was showing my stepsisters, and I was like, oh my god, look, I got a skeleton warrior. Worst card. Not the worst card, but still pretty bad. Anyways, and then my dad's like, let me have a look at these cards. And I'm like, oh look, it's my cards. And he just takes my cards and walks off. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
What's going on, Dad?
Yeah.
My stepmom comes into the room, and she's like, so your dad's told me that you're playing with some interesting cards with monsters on them. And I was like, yeah, it's Yu-Gi-Oh! And she's like, when I was younger, I used to use tarot cards.
Oh,
and
shit.
she went into
you were like contacting the paranormal.
Yeah. She thought I was like contacting monsters because like when you play a monster, you summon that monster card. And she's like, it's a gateway into witchcraft and esoteric magic. And I was like, she was like, do you know what tarot cards are? And by this point, I was like 12, and I was like, I know what tarot cards. I might have been 8. I was like, I know what tarot cards are. These aren't tarot cards. This is a game. She's like, yeah, it's how they get kids. Is they say it's a game.
How they get kids. Like there's like a
and then you go and join
league.
the witchcraft cult.
Well, I get my grandpa could have got stuck in a TV, so I guess I dodged a
right?
bullet, and I never played Yu-Gi-Oh again.
When the so your dad got rid of.
Oh yeah, he just destroyed those. That was like $20 down the pack, down the shitter. Just threw those cards out.
And he didn't pay you back.
No,
That's stealing.
Yeah. So, Dad, if you ever listen to this, which I hope you don't, give me back $20.
If you're like reading the Bible and they mention the devil, do you throw the Bible out to close the book?
Yeah. If you read the word devil
of the devil,
not anime related. So I'm at this Christian convention, like a weekend thing. I won't name it because they'll sue us or something. But I'm with all of my male relatives because it's a men's thing only, men only. There's a guy who pulled a truck. It was like, whoa, men! This is one thing that I don't know where this is going to go. That's the one thing I really miss from other people's childhoods. Miss is the wrong word, but see, I used to go to like a lot of Christian things.
right?
And there'd always be this guy who'd come out and he'd be like, ripped!
Right.
And he'd be like, yo, kids know about Jesus? Let me tell you about a man named Jesus. And
Let's
then
get real for a second.
well, yeah. And everybody would be like, oh my god, yeah. And then he'd be he would give this impassioned speech about how he used to like smoke meth. But then he met Jesus, and he's like, and let me show you what you can do with the power of Christ. And then he would rip a phone book in half.
Yeah.
Or the other thing that I saw happen was he, hot water bottles.
Yeah.
He blew it up into
I think
a burst.
the same guy came to our school. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
One guy who can do it.
That was impressive.
One guy with his entire supply of pre-weakened water bottles.
No.
You cannot. No, he's not blowing.
What about
up a water bottle, no.
ripping a phone book?
There's tricks you can do.
We had 2 guys come to our intermediate, do that stuff, and then like get real and be like, drugs gonna be offered to you guys, you know.
Oh, he did it before
blah, blah,
that.
blah.
It was like he ended on a high note, so you got to end with that because you're all down low and like, oh my god, marijuana. And then he comes in hot, lets it simmer,
nice,
and then he brings it to the boil and then walks away, and you're like, whoa, what were we talking about?
I don't know. You had a point.
Of course, Yu-Gi-Oh.
Oh no, it was just my childhood and anime in it, and Sailor Moon. There was one person who turned into a demon, and my dad made us stop watching Sailor Moon. He was strangely okay with Card Captor Sakura, although the cards in that are based on tarot cards. So I mean, the logic is not consistent. Oh, the point was, I was at this Christian convention. Sorry, and this is when I started to question stuff. I'm not like Anyways, I started to question stuff.
Yeah,
and something retarded like that happened where they were like, they saw the word devil and they did something, but like on stage.
Right.
And I was talking with some of my male relatives, and I was really into metalcore and like really hard Christian rock at the time because I'm an edgelord. And I was like, okay, so I'm listening to this band called The Devil Wears Prada, and they saw the name of the book and they didn't realize that it was about fashion.
Yeah.
They thought it was anti-consumerism, and so they used that, like, The Devil Wears Prada, as in, like, the devil is, like, all about consumerism, and we're against that. And they're a Christian band, here are some of their lyrics, what do you think? My relatives go, they don't have to have the word devil in their name, It would really just... I was like, yeah, but then it wouldn't have the same message. They'd reach more people. They'd be able to push the message of God.
That's the main goal of like heavy metal bands, is to just like spread it as wide as possible.
Yeah, I mean,
as many fans as possible.
Yeah,
oh wait, no, that's pop. So if you or anyone you know is involved in a Yu-Gi-Oh cult and you need help,
my dad believes in witches.
I love how people are offended by just words, just a word,
just a word,
like. They don't think about the idea.
They think about the word.
It's just you see a word and you're like, well, that offends me. Remove that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah.
Like when President Obama was on WTF with Matt Maron, And he said, in context of, like, they were talking about race relations and how there's still racism and blah, 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 he said the word nigger. And it was in context and it was necessary. And everybody was like, I can't believe Obama would say that word. He wouldn't say, I can't believe he would say the N-word.
I thought you were going to say people were angry about Mark Maron saying it. That's even more
No,
confusing.
Obama said it.
There's that good video
But it's what you're saying. It's like, it's the word itself that people are offended by. As if it's like hearing the sounds of the word. It was odd that people were getting on Obama's case for saying the word.
Well, now you've said it.
No, I've
lost
it.
all of our fans.
All of our fans.
Game over. Curtis, as always, any deep burning?
No. Not at all.
I have some follow-up, but I'm actually going to keep it for later, because what I want to do is recap what our predictions for Violet was and follow up on that to see whether there was just to come up with one off the top of my head, see if there was any like triple agents in there.
Season 3.
So we'll come back to that follow up.
I have some follow up. Apart from the stuff that we just played, I don't know why, but when I was recommending Neon Genesis Evangelion, I think I said something ridiculous, thank you. I said that it was like the first anime that they've made for kids. So if you take that as a personal, so imagine as a review of me as a personal level, I think it was the first anime that I watched that wasn't for kids. Because to say that it was the first anime that wasn't for kids is a completely ridiculous thing to say. Even at the time that I said it, I've seen Akira, which I know came out in the 1980s.
I like that you've pulled yourself up on this.
Oh, absolutely. I didn't even listen back. I was just thinking about... I was like, what are the shows... Okay, so I was looking for a show to recommend at the end of this episode, and I was like, hang on. Wait a minute. That's not true at all. That's not even remotely close to being true. But like, if you... Okay, so... post-contextualize it as a way of like a little young baby boy is watching Pokemon, and then he hears about robots what can fight, and there's a sad boy involved. Not for kids though, and then it's Joel. So
like, that was the first one then, obviously.
I'm not a complete buffoon. I didn't mean it. And then I think that's it.
We don't have to revoke your Sensei powers.
They're not really there to begin with. So let's launch off into... Oh, no, wait, Curtis, sorry, do you have any...
He's keeping them all.
Yeah. We're going to do a Curtis episode.
Episode 100 of
It'll be one of those...
He's going to be like, here's all my follow-up from episode 1, from episode 2, from episode 3.
Anyways, let's launch into Violet Evergarden Abridged.
Episode 10, title:
Those We Love Always Watch Over Us.
Also known as Anne's episode. Starts with a little bored girl by the name of Anne. She's sitting on the porch of a fancy estate and she's talking to her creepy doll. She sees Violet approaching up the garden path and she runs inside to tell her ill sort of bedridden mother. They have guests over and the guests leave saying something ambiguous about, but when you're dead, what's going to happen to her? Violet begins work for this woman, and she drinks some tea, which will later expel from my body and return to the earth. Not yet. Not yet. The little girl thinks that Violet is literally a real doll, because she's not got expressions, she's wearing the doll's sort of costume and all of this, and of course she acts like one. The mum collapses in pain, and she gets taken back to bed. Anne approaches Violet and tries to teach her how to play with dolls. Then she's trying to play with her and she's trying to do riddles with her, and Violet's reading her a book and they're playing games together. There's like it's all interspersed sort of montage of over the week that she's working at this house. The little girl Anne finally admits to Violet that she's wanting to do all of this with her mum, not Violet. She's wanting her mum to play with her, but her mum's bedridden and not giving her any attention. The mum is clearly dying. She's coughing and spluttering and collapsing and all of this. And Anne eventually runs into her mum while she's writing these letters with Violet, and she says, "You're not spending any time with me. You're dying, and you're not going to be around too much longer. And are these letters you're writing more important than I am?" And her mum's like, "No, of course not." And she runs away crying. Violet goes after her and tries to comfort her with her cold, hard mechanical arms, giving her a hug and talking about how There's nothing they can do. Your mum's dying.
You have to just let it go.
You have to let
kid.
it go. There's nothing you can do.
Like my arms.
Any
go.
more than I can change the fact that I'm never going to have soft arms like yours. Your mum's never going to be here for you.
I really like that equivalency argument. You losing your mum
like
as a child is just like me losing my arms. And nothing you can do about it. May as well build a bridge, get over it, and fuck off.
Yeah, she's not the greatest at comforting, I got from that. So Violet eventually she finishes her week of writing letters for the mum, and she leaves. Anne spends the remaining time that she's got with her mum in like a bit of a montage before we see her at a funeral and she's orphaned. And then she grows up, and we see her birthdays. Her 8th birthday, her 6th one comes first, then her 8th, and then her 18th, and she's receiving letters from her mum on every birthday. It turns out that's the letters she was writing.
Slew me.
Not only until she was like 20 though, she wrote 50 letters. So for the next 50 years, this little girl's going to be getting letters on her birthday from her mum saying, "What are you up to now?" I did start to wonder, what is the content of the letter by like 46 years
Funeral
old?
invitation.
what
You're older.
She doesn't, because she doesn't know what anything about her actual
You're
life.
older than I am now.
I've got nothing to say to you because I don't know what you're into. I don't know who you married. Whether you.
I wish I could have been there. I hope that your children are okay.
Did you discover you were gay and go into a lesbian relationship?
No,
did you go into a
47? You must be into your 3rd marriage by now.
I know nothing about who you are as a person, but
she just writes a bunch of variations, and the mailman's like, "I have this questionnaire that I just answered."
Right.
Because are you married? Okay. 2nd or 3rd marriage? First
marriage. Okay.
How many children do you have?
It's like a
Mad Libs.
It's a Mad Lib. She was writing Mad Lib letters, and Violet has to keep a track of Anne throughout her life and write in the extra details. Now, it did make me wonder though, because have you seen P.S. I Love You? There's kind of a similar thing there. He's written notes for her after he's dead. It made me wonder, like, if you do that sort of thing, it can be seen as like, that's so sweet and romantic. But at the same time, you're not really letting them move on. Yeah. You're not going to let them
Different
let go
if it's a parent.
Yeah, I did excuse it because it's a parent.
Because in P.S. I Love You, it's Leonidas dies, and then the comedian from Watchmen comes in, and that's not really a good trade-off because they're both really violent.
Anyway, that episode ends with the dolls witnessing Violet bursting into tears. She's crying. She's saying, "Anne'll never know a mum, blah, blah, blah. I've had to hold back my tears for a week." And all the dolls are like, "Holy shit, she's crying. How do we deal with it? She's showing emotion. Yeah. Oh, how do we do it?" And they kind of give her a group hug. Episode 11, title.
I don't want anyone else to die.
Also known as Aiden's episode. Violet overhears Catalia talking to President. Someone in Camp Menace, on the front lines of their former enemy state, wants to hire a doll. There's a civil war going on in the enemy state. The war isn't over until the anti-peace terrorists piss off.
Okay, no, pause just a sec. I haven't paused in a while, which means I've saved up a lot of pauses. We never find out what the anti-peace movement wants. They're just like, we don't like peace.
They just want to go back to war
for no reason.
Yeah,
like they're not. They don't even say like, "Oh, those resources, if we don't have them, then we'll die," or "Oh, well, there's a reason." They're just like, bloody moderates. They're moderate at everything, including fighting, but they're pretty good at dying.
They're pretty poorly written, but it's one of the many things that we'll talk about later, I guess. So they'll never be peace while these guys are around. President says, I'm going to have to deny this request. I can't send one of my dolls out into a dangerous battlefield. And then the theme song plays, which is intermittent. Sometimes they play one, sometimes they don't. And at the end of the theme song, the president's like, "Hey, where's that request gone from my desk? And where's Violet gone?" And somebody's like, "She's taken it and she's gone to do the deed." And he's like, "Oh no." She sneaks her way off to the front lines, and it's pretty cold up there. It's in the middle of winter, in the middle of a civil war, and she's not dressed for it. She manages to convince some postmen to help her get into this camp, even though it's surrounded on all sides by the enemy. So they put her in a plane and fly her into the camp. We see the camp, and there's an ambush happens, and a few soldiers get killed by the anti-peace guys. Another soldier gets mortally wounded, and the anti-peace guys move in to finish him off. This is Aiden. At that moment, just as they're about to stick their bayonet through his throat, Violet halo dives in, just and then bam, kicks butt, just like knocks all these guys out.
It's really weird that
She doesn't die.
No, because they've got a sniper, and he's like,
yeah,
and they look up and they see like, oh, a woman, and then they just let her fall.
Here comes a parachuting woman,
and then
I'm convinced she's a robot.
Yeah, I know, right?
She has to be at this stage. It's not that her arms fell off; it's that her old arms fell off, and they had to get her new bits and bobs.
Upgraded.
She runs and dodges like
bullets
20
and shit,
yeah,
and kicks their ass and stuff. Yeah, so the buddy's main bad guy, Peace guy, recognizes her as the Soldier Maiden of Liechtensteinschaft, which is the name of the country that she's from. She kicks their ass and tells them to piss off, put down your weapons and move away. I'm not going to kill you. I don't kill people anymore. And then she saves this dying Aiden dude and takes him to a cabin. And she says, "I'm here for you. You wrote the request to blah blah blah."
Lucky hidden tree.
Right. He dictates a letter to his parents saying, "Thank you for being my parents. If you ever get the chance to be parents again in another life, I hope I'm your son again." Which I thought was an interesting way of saying that.
Maybe his religion believes in reincarnation.
Yeah.
And it's fine.
She air types because she Halo dived in, so she doesn't have a typewriter. So she just air types with her fingers, and she says, "Yes, as long as I'm making the motions, I'll remember your words." After his parents, she sees a photograph of his sweetheart and says, "Hey, maybe you want to send another letter, maybe?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, I grew up with this girl called Maria. I'll send one to her." And then he says how he loves her and stuff, and then he dies.
It's not funny. Sorry, it's not funny.
She gets picked up by the postman in the plane again, who has no trouble landing in the area now. And then she delivers the letters to his parents and childhood sweetheart, and then they thank her, and she breaks down. She's not able to accept their thanks. Episode 12, title.
No title.
Opens with Naval Captain Dietfried receiving some mission to protect the dolls as they head north to a signing ceremony. They're going to be typing up like the peace treaty, effectively.
So, I guess this is kind of relevant, though, right? Like, people in power in this country, in this world, are illiterate.
Yeah.
Even though it's like no longer monarchies for the most part. There seem to be governors and stuff. Like, they're the people writing the bills, and they have an understanding of law.
Yeah, they're writing the peace treaties. That's a pretty important thing to write. But
yeah, like they have to have an understanding of like who's going to benefit and like history and legal things and law, but they can't write. They never learn to do that or read or word of mouth.
No, maybe it's beneath them to write. That's a peasant's job.
So you import dolls from a different city. You pay an extra premium to import. Okay, cool.
So they're the best typists. They can type without. Because paper's really expensive. You want to not have any typos.
So when we saw the school with all the dolls who commuted from around the country, they don't get any work because they always outsource to this one company. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Cool. Great. Yeah. Played that up. Nice.
So Violet is not with the girls as they head north. She is coming back from her mission up north on a plane. The anti-peace cuts to them and they're planning their anti-peace stuff. Violet's plane is still flying. The president it cuts to him and he's hoping that Violet returns safe. And then it's Violet and she's still flying. And then the anti-peace people hijack the train that the girls are on. And then Violet's flying past at that moment and looks out of the plane and sees the dolls out the window of the train. And so she gets the pilot to drop her off and she gets on the train as well. And she finds Dietfried and debriefs him that there's some anti-peace guys around still. And he says, "You're a brainless tool." And she says, "No, I'm not." And she's not a brainless tool anymore. And then the anti-peace movement attack the train. And Violet warns Dietfried, they're actually attacking now. We knew that they were on the train and they were going to attack, but now the attack's actually started. And so he says, "Here's a gun, go and kill them." And she says, "Nah, I don't need a gun and I'm not going to kill them." She gets up onto the top of the train and she punches out the guy who shot Aiden, but she refuses to kill him. And then the other main bad guy of the anti-peace movement, he turns up and he's like, "I remember you. You should die." And then like there's 7-on-1 and she just kicks their ass like she's out of the Bourne movies or something. She gets cut up by bayonets in trying to prevent them from sliding off the top of the train, trying to not kill them. She loses her emerald. It gets cut off her. And the main bad guy picks it up and he's like, you want this, don't you? So lay down and don't fight anymore. And so she does. And he has her surrounded and he's about to kill her. Holds up his bayonet. It's a sword for some reason instead of a gun. So holds up a sword. He's going to kill her. And Deepfried Ex Machina, he just turns up and kills them all. And he screams at Violet, it's your fault that my brother died. And she's kind of like, yeah, it is. And then the baddie who died before resurfaces, and now he's got a grenade launcher, and she fires off a grenade, and Violet jumps in front of Deepfried and uses her big mechanical arms to take the blast, and it deflects it. It's
That was
the end of
such
this
good
episode.
timing.
I know, right?
The rocket blast.
Yeah. She's really good, and the fact that it hit like right on the X where her arms crossed in front of her face, fantastic.
That's well done.
I mean, she's a tool. She's a weapon. That's what she was trained to do. I don't know how they trained her to do that specific move, like predict where a projectile's coming in. That's the end of episode 12. Episode 13, title.
Also no name.
No title. The baddies still on top of the train. Baddies are shooting Violet with a regular gun now over and over and over until her arm flies off, broken.
Yeah.
She's lost one of her two mechanical arms.
Oh, so like, is there? So sorry, no, I understand now. So there's like rules of engagement where you can't shoot somebody in the stomach or on the legs or in. You can only do
It's
headshots.
like it's unwritten. It's unwritten rules. It's seen as a dick move if you shoot them in the nads, or
Yeah.
If you are going to shoot them in the eye, make sure that they can catch it by blinking. So one of her arms is lost. Deepfried kills the guy, and then the guy, as he's dying, he's laughing and saying, "Ha ha ha! You're too late anyway." And they look ahead like, "What does he mean by that?" And the train is fast approaching a huge bridge, and there's a bomb attached to the bridge that's going to blow it up. I said a bomb? No, two bombs actually. Deepfried jumps down into the train car. Just brake really quick, and he's like, oh, the emergency brakes have been cut. So Violet swings beneath the train or something, and she applies the brakes manually, and then she jumps off the train and overtakes it, I guess, to get to the bridge.
Yeah, she's
before
really
the
quick
train.
at running.
And she runs alongside the train, gets to the bridge way ahead of the train, and grabs the bomb. But she's straining to pull it off of the girder that it's attached to, and her fingers are breaking, and she loses 3 of her 5 fingers. And then Benedict arrives on the bridge as well, and he kicks his stiletto right through the second bomb, which falls into the water below. And then Violet strains and strains and strains until her arm rips off, but just at the same time the bomb rips off as well, and it explodes inches away from her face. But she's okay because Benedict, who is on the other side of the bridge, saves her from the other side of the bridge. And then the dolls arrive on the bridge, and then they get to the place where they were going, and they type up the peace treaty, and war is over. Again, officially, or whatever. Violet gets new hands, and she continues her letter writing job. Catalia says, "I used to be a dancer, and the audience is like, "What? You? No." She
would have been way better if Erica had been the dancer.
Yeah, totally. She says, "I'm going to write all my gentlemen callers letters to say how much I appreciated their tips."
Just 10,000.
Yeah.
There's some sort of a ceremony going to happen where there's going to be a plane flies over the island, and it drops letters out to anyone. Your past selves, your future selves, just people you've always wanted to.
It's a letter-based world.
It's a letter-based world.
Yeah, that was when I realized, this is nothing like reality. I thought the only thing was these robot hands, but this is literally just a fantasy thing where, well, it's just letters are very important in their culture, but nobody ever learned to write, even though they're very important. Also, people barely learned to read. That's the confusing thing. No, hang on. Everybody can read. Even the drunk, useless soldier that is the perfect girl Achilles' brother can read.
Can't type, can't
write.
Yeah. But he can read.
He can fucking read. Christ.
Catalea says, "Hey, you should write a letter, Violet." She goes, "I've been doing this for X many years now, but I've still never written a letter of my own." Flashback, as she's sitting in front of her typewriter wondering what to write. Flashback to Major's tent, right before the battle where he died. He gets angry at Violet for not being human, but then he gets really angry at himself for making her this way. It was his fault all along, that he's been using her as a tool. Back to present day, she can't find the words for the letter, and the president says, "Well, you need to get it in by tomorrow, or it won't be dropped out of the plane. If you get it done in early in the morning, I'll take it around personally." Deepfried arrives at that point and takes Violet to meet his mother. And then there's lots of cheesy, overwritten dialogue with unnecessary flashbacks, and the mum gives some good advice, and then Violet moves on. She tells Deepfried, "I don't need orders anymore. I'm at peace," kind of thing. She goes home and she writes that letter. She hands it in, and then everybody's talking about what they wrote in their respective letters. I really thought that we were going to get a Benedict coming out moment, because he wrote his letter to the president fella, and he was seemed like it was going to...
That was gay baity as fuck.
Yeah.
I was very excited to hear about a gay... I shipped them 100%.
Yeah. Didn't happen. Or did it? Maybe it was like really metaphorical.
No,
all he said in his letter was, "I'm going to be the boss one day."
Yes!
So, maybe.
Hashtag 2019 Benedict on top.
Cadleia violates the president's privacy by reading his letter aloud against his wishes. It was written to his future daughter. And then the plane flies over and it drops thousands of letters. It's beautiful. It's just a beautiful way to end the series. And then we hear Violet's letter to Gilbert. It's really beautiful, and she knows. She ends it by saying, "I know now. I finally know now what I love you means," and it's just a beautiful way to end the series. And then we see Violet in her room, just staring at her page. There's only one line written on it, and people are downstairs being like, "Violet, you've got a new client," and she's like, "Sweet, yeah, I'll be down in a second." And then she rubs her thumb over the line that she's written, and it zooms in on it, and it's like, "Oh, what's she written?" But it's written in a made-up language, so we don't actually know what it is. But whatever it is, we can tell that it's just a beautiful way to end the series.
Not even subbed.
And then we see Violet arrive at a new client's house, which looks a lot like the cabin the playwright lived in, from my perspective. And then she bows as they're opening the door, giving her usual spiel of "I'm a doll and I'll go wherever you want to meet you. My name is," and she looks up and she's shocked, and then she smiles.
Triple Agent Season 3 and 2.
That's how they choose to end the series.
He wasn't dead, he was a triple agent.
And
yeah.
Okay,
so
real quick summary, thoughts and feelings of the series as a whole, not just these episodes.
my thoughts, summarized. I liked aspects of this series. I thought it was poorly done.
Curtis.
There were moments where it got to me. Definitely felt shit, yo. Teared up. It was okay.
Joel, that's me. This series made me feel like an inhuman stone golem because I hated it. I hated
You're meant
it.
to have a heart.
It's
meant to melt you.
That's what I've heard. I've heard that it's like really good and that it made people cry and stuff. And like there were, like you guys have said, there were episodes that really got to me and I thought were well written.
Yeah.
In isolation, I think that they're good stories.
Yeah.
The series as a whole, I hate with a passion. I hate it more than Dragon Ball Z.
Really?
By the time...
Oh, wow.
Episode 11... No, sorry. Episode 12, I started it and was like, oh, this is main story? I don't care. I literally don't care what happens. And I was like, looking at my phone...
Violet's main story.
Violet's main story, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I don't despise it. I dislike it, but I don't despise it.
Oh,
And
man. I hate how it... I think it's because it makes me feel like a monster because I don't like... Because I was like, I'm a little bit apathetic towards it. I don't really care how this ends. But then I'm like, no, wait. I should care how this ends.
But no, because it goes back to what I said last time. They're trying too hard. They haven't earned the right to be as sappy as they are.
Yeah.
And that's why you're probably not feeling it. Like, there are moments where, in isolation, like the whole thing with Anne and her mum, and she'll grow up without ever meeting her mum.
I like that episode.
That did make me tear up. I'm like, this is beautiful. I can tell why people... But, like, as a story as a whole, they just try it again and again and again, and they're forcing it down your throat. They're saying, you should be crying now. You should be crying. Look how beautiful this is. Listen to the music we're using. Cry, damn it. And it's like, fucking get a grip. You haven't earned it.
I think that all of the one-shot episodes are pretty good, apart from that one on the university. I didn't really like that one. They're all really good stories in and of themselves.
Yeah.
But Violet is the most unlikable protagonist, and we don't get to see her grow. We get told that she grows.
Yeah.
Because, like,
But she starts to cry more.
but so, like, with... Okay, so she goes and Anne's episode in particular, right?
Yeah.
She goes and she's like, I'm going to expel this from my body.
Yeah. Because she's a robot.
Because she's a robot.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the episode, she's like, I had to hold back tears the whole time I was at her house. But we don't see that struggle.
We'll
like,
see it.
Illustrate that. Don't make her seem like some kind of...
Have a scene during the episode where Anne, like, is playing with it, and then she runs out of the room, and Violet's like, nah, it's okay. You'll understand when you're older or something. And then she just bursts into tears as soon as Anne leaves and goes, oh my god, this is so fucking hard. Let's see her as a person.
If that had been in there, boom, would have made it, like, way, way better. I would have loved it a lot.
I did find that it was an interesting development moment for her empathy, that when Anne says, I've been playing all these games and stuff with you because I've really been wanting to play with my mum, and she goes, yeah, I know, I realise that sort of thing. And it was kind of like that would require a level of empathy that we haven't seen in Violet up until then. Been able to read this.
It's just not well developed.
Yeah, it's really not.
And they could have done it better. And I hate it.
I think you mentioned it was cheap. To me, it was kind of like some sort of soap opera where they've got the lighting, they've got the violins or whatever the music is. I
really grew to hate the music.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, but there's they almost manipulate your emotions. It's like really well. They do it really well. So there's the moment with the story with the daughter and the mom dying, and it's like that really got to me, or got me, because it's just such a sad human experience.
Parents dealing with their kids dying or parents dying really fucks me up.
Yeah. Even the soldier dying without having a first kiss, without knowing that he's never going to see his parents again. Like, these emotions are brought out throughout the show.
Do you know what I think that they are?
Yeah.
I think that these the one-shot stories are better written because they're supposed to be told in the space of one story, and they're usually something that you can understand or empathize with, like right off the bat. Like, mum dying, baby kid, very sad.
Yeah.
Little soldier boy who never got his first kiss, very sad. I can understand that.
Yeah.
But Violet as a character, we don't, and we've already said this now, but we don't see her grow through these. We don't get those scenes with Violet dealing with things. We get the one scene where she's am I worthy of being alive? And that was good. That was my favorite part of the series. I was like, right, they're finally starting to develop her character.
Right.
And then they just move on past it.
She doesn't really have much of a conflict.
She goes back to being a robot.
And then I feel.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I can't feel. And then there's huge just time jumps.
Yeah.
And we're told that she's been working for months now and she's actually good at a job and stuff, and we haven't seen that progression in the middle. And then now she can emote and things as well. She can empathise with the main characters of the play that she's writing and stuff. We don't see things. My main distaste for this series can be boiled down to the writers don't seem to know what they wanted it to be. It's half full of standalone episodes, so in a way it's almost anthology-like, that these are good short stories. If you watched it just on its own without even knowing anything about Violet, it would stand up. Certain episodes would be that's a really sweet story. It's partially a story about Violet's arc that never really gets to fruition, and then the biggest thorn in my side is that it's partially an action shonen whatever. Towards the end, she's going James Bond at it and Bond, and she's dodging bullets and throwing guys over her shoulder and stuff, and she's an action hero. She's diving off of trains and pulling bombs off of bridges, and it's that is not what the story was about for the first 10 episodes. Why is it now? It was wanting to be too much, and it was not landing on anything proper.
Tone shifts in anime are a thing. They do happen in series. I'm struggling to think of one. Maybe the tone shift in Tinker Top and Gurren Lagann. I've never I recommended that in the Kill la Kill episode, but halfway through that changes from being there's a big bad guy, we got to kill him, to, and it only changes for a little while, but it quickly changes to a political drama where we've won. And now we have to build a society and rules and things have to be structured, and we can't just go out and do whatever the fuck we want anymore. That's just a really base example.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that there's a precedent for tone shifts, but I agree that it isn't handled well in this show. So
They didn't show it well.
no,
Like, for some reason, she develops this rule to not kill people. Because I suppose, and they tried to get at it, that she regrets killing people in her past.
that's a robot thing to do. Oh, I couldn't feel and
Right.
I killed.
Yeah.
So now I can feel and I shouldn't kill.
Yeah.
No, that's a little bit reductive.
But it wasn't shown well. It wasn't expressed well. And now she's really strict to sticking to this rule of not killing these people who are trying to kill her friends.
Yeah. About to blow up.
That always bothers me when and heroes, when faced with villains who are going to do the bad thing, the worst thing, just killing is absolutely moral absolutists.
Right.
Moving along, out of 10, what would you guys rate this show, Robert?
We're doing as a whole.
Just as a whole, as the series as a whole.
5. It's sort of
Middle of the
it's right in
road.
the middle because it's got parts that I liked, but for the most part,
Yeah, I would say 5.5 to 6. I think it's like one of those. It's like a trashy sort of film that you would watch if you just want to sort of cry, to feel something. Unless you're Joel.
I recoiled when Curtis said that. That's fine.
No, but like it's not gonna impact you massively. It's like the cry is like it's a cheap cry.
Yeah.
Like they use special effects. They use their little
that's
what is it, like superficial.
Yeah, the music
tricks
was almost like
to-
a laugh track in a sitcom. It was like a now
Exactly.
you cry now.
Exactly. In the last episode, they showed a photo of Gilbert when he was at Gilbert's mum's house. It's Gilbert, his older brother. They're playing with the toy. They just drew the picture perfectly, where it was just like he's dead now. Oh, like it's like
No, his brother.
time. Oh, like
and they're showing that Deepfried, who's like kind of a monsterish person at this stage,
Used to also be a
he's
child.
actually still really loves his brother. And
he
really
was
misses
this
him and stuff.
caring older brother,
And one of the reasons he hates Violet so much is because he kind of blames her for his brother's death, and he really misses him.
yeah. So they just showed like a photo, and I'm just like, well,
Oh, and his mum's got some like dementia starting as well, so she doesn't. She
You-
remembers and then forgets that
again, but it's
Gilbert's dead.
yeah, it's like all these little little dials that are turning
But to me,
on.
I see that
Yeah.
stuff and be like,
It
I
takes you out
see
of
why
it.
you've put it
Yeah,
in there.
yeah.
I can tell what you're fishing for.
See,
Yeah.
I'm not going to give it.
I will not cry.
That's the thing. Like, there were parts of the show that I liked. I think that they did some of the stories really well. I won't repeat myself, but I resent it for not getting me attached to Violet. I don't know what it could have done to get me more attached to Violet.
Well, that was what I was going to bring up as well. Like we did for DBE movie.
Yeah.
What would you change to make it better?
Okay, well, first of all, I give it a strong 4 to a light 5
4.
because I resent it so much for not making me feel.
Right.
I'm totally on board with you. If we weren't watching it for this podcast,
I would have dropped
stopped.
it.
I would have stopped because I know I can see what they're doing, and it's like, well, I'm not gonna.
Exactly.
carry on. Yeah.
What could I have changed? Burns instead of robot arms, because it, like the apart from the very very end where she blocks an RPG with her rocket with her robot hands. Apart from that,
Which I would have liked to have lost, so it would have been even better.
exactly. If she had burns for hands, it would have carried through the metaphor of Higgins being like, is it Higgins? Hodgins. Hodgins being like, you're burning, and she's like, no, my burns have stopped. He's like, no, you're burning all over. No, it's just my hands.
She's carrying the scars.
Exactly. So
Literally.
the one thing I would have changed is give her burns instead of robot hands, because we also then have a much clearer understanding of the kind of recovery she would have had to have gone through to be able to use those arms again, especially if they're like horrifically burned and she's missing a finger or something.
Yeah.
So the one thing I would change, Burns.
Curtis.
Ooh, get back to me.
I think the order was the biggest thing for me. Like, I got really sick of the anthology one after another thing. I would have put Violet's story interspersed with it every other episode or whatever. Not as formulaic as every other episode, but I would have gotten to Violet's flashbacks earlier so that we invested in them more. I think that's the biggest thing for me.
One change to make it better.
Yeah.
One change.
To rule them all.
One opportunity. Gotta look at the mic when you do it though, because otherwise we're not gonna hear you.
I'll give it art critique.
Yeah, that's art style is totally fine. We've gone with narrative things, go with art.
Right. Your characters are awfully skinny.
They really are, yeah.
Fill them out of it. Give them better form.
You know who should have been thick?
Who's that?
Katlia.
Yeah.
She definitely should have been thick.
Yeah.
She was like...
She didn't have the waist to support.
She was top heavy.
Her chest.
Yeah, she would have had horrible back problems.
Yeah.
That reminds me though, we're talking about art and stuff. Instead of doing like a just leaving it as out of 10 as a whole, I want to ask you just a yes or no. Would you recommend for various things? Would you recommend if somebody was just wanting something that was well animated?
I couldn't recommend this show.
Would you recommend it for animation?
No, it's not. There are other shows I would recommend for animation.
Or would you recommend it for animation?
Yeah, it wouldn't be my go-to, but if like I was recommending something for animation wise, I would go. I'm more interested in more unique and obscure sort of art.
So is that yes or no?
Does that sound really dumb?
No. I was being a dick.
No.
See, I would, because I think that's one thing that they do right, not knowing anything about animation. Just to me, it looks that they've put so much effort into very sparkling, glistening eyes, or there's like the sun's setting over the lake and there's the lights reflecting off the lake, and beautiful shots, the hair, like as she's like slow motion turning around, the hair's wavering and stuff. I think it's beautiful.
So my understanding was we were recommending somebody watch the whole series for the animation. There are definitely parts that are beautifully animated. Those, like her being a super soldier running in and kicking everybody's ass, those are really well done. Those are very well done scenes. There are, and like we've already mentioned some of the things that we like her holding up the light and that reflecting the moon, holding up the amulet, and it reflecting off of the moonlight. And some of the subtler character interactions, definitely. All those little pieces I could recommend. I couldn't recommend anybody watch this show.
Would you recommend it for plot?
No.
Because
No.
I'm not a no as well. Would you recommend it for characters?
No. Oh, speaking of characters, hang on, Curtis. What the fuck was Benedict's high heel story that was just unresolved? Benedict started wearing high heels. What a dude! He sprained his ankle, and then he kicks the bomb off. And it's just like, high heels. Yeah.
Maybe it's just like, hey, it's okay to wear high heels and it doesn't have to be a thing. There doesn't have to be a story behind it.
Well, there was so little focus on everything else that time could have been spent elsewhere.
In the bomb episode, I don't know where, does he do athletics or gymnastics?
He's a male boy.
Kicks the bomb off and one hand grabs the bridge.
Without looking.
And hangs on.
on. And he gets back up onto the bridge and helps her avoid the blast in his face. Characters?
No.
No from me as well. I think Violet kind of, by the end, we saw more of her, but it's not enough. Would you recommend it for humour?
No.
No. Would you recommend it for action?
No.
Would you recommend it?
There's a lot of categories that you're doing.
Hey, that's what I'm trying to put it in a genre. This is my main issue.
Right,
okay.
Is it a comedy? Is it an action? Is it a fantasy?
There were no funny parts.
What would you recommend it under?
What is this?
Slice of life. It's a slice of life.
Would you recommend it as a slice of life?
Okay, I want to go on record. Just like let's wrap this up. I want to go on record as saying I wouldn't recommend this show. Full stop. If I was going to recommend it to anybody who's like, I'm looking for blank and I really want something to watch, it would be a period drama. If you're looking for a period drama that will maybe make you cry, try Violet Evergarden. But there are probably better animes in this.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not that familiar with slice of life. I was trying to think as well. This made me feel so inhuman. I got so angry after I watched these episodes. There are slice of life that I like, but this is not one of them. No, sir.
Maybe I haven't seen enough, but I would recommend it if you like trashy like celebrity magazines and things like that. I would recommend it for like a cheap cry, but maybe you've seen better.
I think that, like, okay.
I think cheap cry should be a genre. Like, cheap cry, bam, this one.
Not for cheap cries, but like as a slice of life show, Welcome to the NHK is better. And I'm like, this is okay. So like again, this is just our opinion. If you love the show, but power to you. But Welcome to NHK is like a significantly better show, and I'm trying to watch some more slice of life shows.
Right.
But like the couple that I've watched are just they're not for me. There's one that I've heard of that I should watch called Clanad. Apparently that one's very, very sad. But I don't know, man. I've seen, like, media makes me cry. I want to go on record and say, like, I've cried during a movie, boy. Like, I've cried during movies that people don't like, but just this one did not hit the right beats for me.
Yeah.
Grown-ups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Grown-Ups. Just when Adam Sandler gets kicked in the nuts again.
It's just...
I haven't seen Grown-Ups. I've seen Grown-Ups 2, but not Grown-Ups.
Last thing I want to talk about before we move on from Violet Evergarden. It's been confirmed that there's a season 2.
I'm not watching it.
I won't be watching it either. Predictions for season 2. For a start, the cliffhanger they left off with is it Gilbert?
It's Gilbert.
No, it's not Gilbert. They would have shown him if it was Gilbert. It's not Gilbert.
No. They're cucking you, but it's Gilbert. They're edging you. Because did we call this an edging show?
We called something an edging show.
I don't think it was this one, but I think it's just edging you. It's like, this is Gilbert.
They're totally trying to say that. That's why I think it would be Gilbert.
It's based on the latest light novel. Oh, speaking of, this was something I should have put into follow-up. There's no way I'm going to be able to edit this back into there. So, I always heard of light novel adaptations.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that light novel is just a book for kids. It's essentially young adult fiction, but in Japan.
Right.
They call them light novels.
Oh, okay.
It's just a book. This is just a book. Like a book with words,
not
no
the electronic
pictures.
thing that you said.
Not a video game. I always thought that a light novel was either a video game or like an audio play. It is not that. It is just a book. I fucked up again, and you know what? That's on me.
You're gonna need to find a better sensei.
Well, this is the thing. We're all learning. You've got nobody better. Who you gonna go?
We've got no better options.
So what was the question?
We were talking about Gilbert in the house. Was it him?
Oh, okay. So, there'll be a cut there. The light novel is split into 2 volumes, Volume 1 and Volume 2, which is what the anime just covered.
Yeah.
Season 2 will be covering the newest, which only came out like last year, the newest volume, Violet Evergarden Gaiden.
Yeah.
And I do not know what the plot of that is, but it's out, so people have read it.
Right.
And I can tell you with certainty that it's Gilbert.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm fine.
Fucking... What the fuck's the point of the whole season?
I was lying.
Oh, you... Oh, actually?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I thought you guys were going with me. I thought you were yes-anding.
No, I wasn't yes-anding. That was just... I'm upset.
Did you know that I was lying?
No.
Shit.
I thought that you'd found spoilers. No. I'm interested in what you just said about it being based on Volume 1 and 2. This whole season. Maybe that's the reason for the disparity.
We talked about it.
Is Volume 1 just about her dealing with other people, and then Volume 2's all her?
It'll just be better paced. It'll be a mixture of both. No idea. Haven't read it. Not going to read it.
Maybe that explains it.
But I did talk about it in the last episode that this is an adaptation, and the biggest issue with a lot of adaptations, not all adaptations, is that they cut the wrong content. Like the people adapting the source material, they just misunderstand.
Yeah.
The thing that they're doing. They're like, oh, the focus of it is this. Or they're like, oh, we've got 12 episodes and we have to cover this much. Why don't we do both of those things? Whereas they should have just focused on one. They should have either made it an anthology series or a character-driven drama, but there wasn't enough time to do both.
Right, yeah.
So I was right up until the 3 false endings where I thought it was going to cut off. I was like, Gilbert's dead then. Gilbert's definitely dead. Gilbert's dead. And then she went to the cabin and I'm like, holy shit, they've made Gilbert not dead. And so I really don't know which one it's going to be, but I'll hate it either way.
Why would he? He's got like family.
Yeah.
Why would he just be like, hey, Gilbert, send over Violet.
This is the thing.
I don't know.
And I so I fleshed it out a little bit more. So, season 2 starts with just where we've seen, except instead of seeing Violet Evergarden smiling, we open on that. We turn it around, we see Gilbert, but he's got a stern look on his face. And he says, "You better come in." She steps in, and he's got red string and stuff all over the walls. And he's like, "Listen, these two countries, this peace, it's not gonna work out. There's this anti-peace movement." And she's like, "That's a double negative." And he's like, "I know." And that's where it jettisons off from.
We're deeper than we've ever been before.
Yeah. And then some stuff happens, and then season 3, Violet Evergarden gets a farm.
Right.
So it all ties in together.
My prediction: it's not Gilbert. It's someone else that we've met before, maybe Leon, because he was like, "We'll meet each other again," and she and him will have a love interest that spreads the entire season, and this season's going to be mainly about that.
Probably.
We're gonna have a lot of more anthology sub stories, but the main arc for her will be falling in love.
My prediction is the people who trained her. I think it's them.
And she's just so happy to have him back.
There it is, and that's why she was shocked. And then it's going to be, you gotta come back.
We need you for another job. But there's a guy called Gilbert. He's fucking up our shop.
And then she's like, "But I don't kill anymore." And then they say the code word.
She's a sleeper agent.
Yeah.
Cow.
Damn.
Yeah, Gary. Enough of that. Let's go on to a Weeb in review. So, as always, we start with our resident Omega Weeb, Curtis, who does the most amount of things ever. What have you done this week, Curtis?
Watched Incredibles 2.
Nice. It's animated.
It's animated. Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, it's good. Go see it.
Stellar review from Curtis. And then I go. So I haven't had much time to watch much anime. I did almost finish the first Gundam movie. I know that sounds fucked. It is very dense. There's a lot of stuff going on. I will say that in the first iteration of Gundam, so this is Mobile Suit Gundam I, or 1. Gundam is not the name of the thing that they're flying. They are mobile suits, and Gundam is the best one that the main character flies.
Right.
That is Gundam. There's also Gun Cannon and Gun Tank, but those are only toys for if your parents couldn't afford an abortion, and they could afford, they hated you.
Right.
And so they, instead of getting that, they got you Gun Tank and Gun Cannon.
Gross. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So those are the shit toys. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's pretty good. Some of the shots look really good. I mean, it's pretty slow and some of the writing is dated. Just,
right.
Oh, this is happening. But it's the story of the United Earth Federation versus the... I can't remember what they called, the Union of Zeon. But essentially the story is that Earth got overpopulated, and that was bad. So they sent us a bunch of satellites into orbit, and there's about 8 satellites, I think, that are orbiting at varying degrees of distance from Earth. And there's one satellite that orbits the moon, and that satellite, for some reason, they didn't give a skybox. They didn't put an artificial sky in it. It's just an outlook into space. And so because they're orbiting the moon, and they just, there's just a glass roof, I guess, they can see the Earth from far away, and so they develop, a different culture entirely from every other site and Earth. Yeah, they have a different perspective.
Yeah.
And so they're fighting for independence, but they're the bad guys in this for some reason. They just want independence, and the Earth Federation is like, fuck you. And they just fight them into the dirt. I'm almost finished. I've watched an hour and a half of the 2-hour movie, but
so it's mobile suits versus mobile suits.
Yeah, mobile suits. So it starts off in the Zeons all have the same looking one, which is basically why their toys didn't sell.
Okay, right.
They're all these green guys that look like they're scuba divers, and then Gundam comes in with cannons and a sword and a shield, which is
sounds like
insane.
So Gundam's like a character.
No, he's a robot.
He's a robot.
It's the name of the mecha mobile suit that the main character whose name
like
is...
Gurren Lagann is the name of
Yeah.
the particular robot that they use.
Yes, yeah. Omaru is the main character.
Sounds like Gundam's got some style. Some Gundam style.
And they fight in space.
Sometimes,
space
and
battles.
also like a lot of it is they go to so it's like this one big ship called White Base.
Yeah.
And it's got a bunch of refugees from Site 7, and they're trying to like find a place to crash out for a little bit, but they're being chased by the Zeons because they have Gundam with them, and none of the other sites can take them because they're at full capacity. Oh, that's the other thing. The reason that Zeon wants independence is because, for some reason, because they don't have a skybox, it meant that they could house more people. I don't know why, but sure. So they've got a massive population, so they need independence.
Right.
Anyways, yeah, Zeons did nothing wrong. Except for Napalm Cities, which is bad. It's pretty good, yeah. Some of the art is really good, some of the writing is really bad, but I am enjoying it from, like, a historical perspective. It's like, even though I've not seen any Gundam, so I'm not, like, really invested in the series. If we wanted to, we could just become a Gundam fan cast. There is so much Gundam.
Right.
Like, this is a movie that came out in 1981. But the series came out in 79, started coming out in 79, and it's like, there are 3 movies that summarize the series.
Oh, okay.
But if we watch, there's so much Gundam. Anyways, so I watched a bit of Gundam. I also beat Yakuza.
Nice.
Beat Yakuza
Finished.
Kiwami. I'm going a little bit through the premium adventure, which is when, like, New Game Plus, essentially.
Yep.
You get to just walk around without any story hindering you from enjoying the real game. I love this game. I also think that this game should go into the trash games that I love, though. I'll tell you why. The ending introduces a new character, and like I should say, like, the last half of the last act introduces an antagonist. Like, I thought I knew what was happening, and they're like, no. All those leads that we gave you that would have, like, led you to believe this one thing, fuck that. And then
all red herrings.
Yeah, exactly. It's just ridiculous. But not even good red herrings. It's not like, oh my god, it wasn't. It's just like they set up this thing where you think it seems like a really obvious answer to a scenario that, like, because you have perspective, the characters just can't see it. But then they're like, oh, here's all this extra information that we just didn't give you,
right?
And here's the real solution to the problem,
right?
So that was not great. But fucking love it. So the ending is your mentor dies, and you find out that the person who stole the 10 billion yen, spoilers, is a guy who's involved in politics. Yeah, whatever. There's a guy.
As soon as you start with the ending is and give a long enough pause, I'm sure people are like, blah, 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 if they don't want spoilers.
I'll just say, so, like, it's this guy who's involved in politics, and he had been embezzling money through the Yakuza. Yeah. And then, like, the Yakuza screwed him over, and so the 10 billion that's missing is not the Yakuza's, it's this one guy's, which is fucked. Anyways, he flies in on a helicopter to this place called Millennium Tower, and he's got guys with guns, and you just run around punching the shit out of guys with guns. And then he's like, it's just you and me now. And then 2 more guys show up, and they're just nothing. But so you this 3-way battle with these guys with guns, and you just beat the ever-living shit out of them. And then he just falls down, knocked out. You don't bother to check if he's dead.
The politician.
Do
you fight the politician?
Yeah, you kick the
shit. Is he a good fighter?
No, he's got a gun.
So
you kick the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Although he doesn't stun, you can't stun lock him like you can with a lot of other people, so that sucks. But then you, like, go back to find the 10 billion yen, and then, like, your childhood friend shows up, and you're like, the politician was just using you, don't you see? And he goes, of course I see! I'm just sick of everybody comparing me to you! I just want to be better. Like, that's the only thing that matters, is me being better than you. Like, it doesn't matter. I was using him to get to you. And you're like, well, that's just not going to fly. And he goes, I guess not. And you go, well, we should end this. He goes, I think we should. And then you both do that thing where you grab your shirt from the middle of your chest and you rip it off.
Nice.
And then you slowly walk towards each other. And then you beat the shit out of each other. And it's just the best. It's so cathartic. Long story short, the politician's not dead. He shoots your friend. The tower blows up. And you become a dad.
I don't know if that sounds
in
bad.
the usual way.
Now you adopt the orphan girl who I've mentioned before,
Right.
and it's an awesome character drama. Like, really retarded story. Like, just there's so many. Honestly, the last act, everything falls apart. But Kiryu, the main character, best dad, 2018. I love that character, and just he's such a good guy.
Right.
And there's nothing more like serious than two muscle guys walking towards each other with their shirts off and tattoos on their backs. And the only way that they can settle their problems is by punching each other repeatedly.
Nice.
They don't kill each other either. They just punch each other until like one of them is knocked out. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think this is carryover from his childhood with the Christian camps and the
Punching each other.
Muscle man.
No, honestly, I think
I'm a manly man and I can pull a truck or blow up a hot water bottle with my mouth.
Seriously, this is better than Violet Evergarden because the character content that's there is really good. So it's got one more thing than Violet Evergarden has, and the plot is passable. It's fine.
Nice. Yeah.
Okay, so the other thing that I did is I have read the first 70 chapters of One Piece.
What? That seems like a lot. Is that a lot?
There's like 20 pages a chapter.
So
I didn't do it this week. Like I'm like I feel like I've read enough to talk about it. I've been reading it pretty slowly.
That is a lot then. 70 chapters, 20 pages a chapter.
How many pages is that? Do the maths.
That's 1,400 pages.
There you go. And the first chapter is like 50 pages, so a little bit more than that.
That is a lot of pages to have read in a week.
Not in a week. No. That's what I just said. This has been an ongoing thing where I've been
I thought
slowly.
you meant since the last time we recorded, you've read 1,400 pages of something.
For when I was reading Berserk, I read the first 100 chapters in 5 days.
What?
I loved that manga, but that's not what I'm talking about. Oh, man, I couldn't put that down. No, what I'm talking about is One Piece. So One Piece is obviously a very long, ongoing shonen show.
It's going to be season 3, right?
Oh my god!
All the way through,
forever,
start to finish.
900 episodes. No, it's really long running. It's really beloved, but when hearing it compared to Dragon Ball Z, Bleach, Naruto, it's always kind of stuck out as being quite different to me, just from the content and also the art style. The art style is very cartoony compared to those other shows. They try to look more serious, I guess. So I wanted to understand what it was about, because I've seen a little bit of Naruto and I've seen a bit of Bleach, and I get those shows and I'm not really picking up what they're putting down. But with One Piece, I read a little bit and then I kind of felt like I got it, but I hadn't really done anything, and so I kept reading and I kept reading, and I think it was at chapter 60 I started to understand why people really like this show.
How many of you would read 60 chapters of a thing before
it's taken me like a month or more to do this. It's just like I have like an extra couple minutes and I'm interested to figure out what's going on. I don't know who's not familiar, but
I'm not.
The story, yeah. So the story is there's a pirate called Monkey D. Luffy. Everybody calls him Luffy, and he is a pirate and he owns a pirate ship, but it's like a dinghy, and he is the only pirate in his pirate crew. And the main goal at the moment is he wants to fill out his pirate crew. He's like, I want to be the pirate king, and there's like a whole thing to do with that. So I want to be the pirate king, but I need a crew first. So the first little kind of arc is him finding a fighter for his crew, I guess, but he finds this guy called Zoro, who's master of the three-sword fighting style. He holds a sword in each hand and then a sword in his mouth. And then he needs to find a navigator, and so he finds a navigator, and then he's just found a cook. But the reason I like this more than Dragon Ball Z is that it knows that it's not a serious thing. Yeah. It doesn't try and treat itself seriously. Like, there's a guy who fights with a sword in his mouth.
It sounds fun. Yeah.
It is really fun, and the art style was a little bit off-putting, but I've really grown on it. So, sorry, also, Luffy has eaten one of the devil fruit, and there's this devil fruit in this world, and it's given him superpowers, but he can't swim ever. So his weakness is water.
He's a pirate
who can't swim. Yeah. And so he's really stretchy and stuff, so he has, whenever he fights, he either has to fight on land or not on water. But so anyways...
What's the superpower?
Very stretchy. Very stretchy. So he goes, Gomu... So he ate the Gomu Gomu devil fruit. And so he goes like, Gomu Gomu pistol, and he'll like stretch his arms way back.
Yeah.
And then just punch the shit out of somebody.
Okay.
Sounds too much like Go-Go Gadget to me.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, like the main thrust is him encountering other people who have eaten devil fruit, or but also people can be mega strong as well. Like the one. Okay, so the reason that I liked it was he is looking for a guy to be his cook, and they find this traveling restaurant on the ocean, and they just stop there because they're like, we need some food. And then other pirates attack the ship because they're there, and they wreck the ship, and so they have to work there because they wrecked it. Like, they're responsible for the restaurant being wrecked. And there's a guy who's working at the ship who his name is Sanji, and he's like, you're perfect, you're my cook now. He's like, I'm not your cook. He's like, no, you're my cook now. I won't take no for an answer, you're my cook.
Right.
And while they're working there, you find out that a lot of the crew, or all the cooks on this boat, used to be pirates. And so you're like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And then you find out that, they're all failed pirates, but they love cooking and they love food. And the guy who runs the ship has been to the Grand Line, which is this kind of mythical location in the world where the Pirate King passed through and he buried his treasure, like, on the other side of the Grand Line. So he's an interesting character enough as it is, and Sanji has this great debt to him. And through the chapter, and like the pirates who attack them come back, you get a really strong characterization for Sanji and the owner of the restaurant, Red Leg Zeph. And it takes, like, the fights take fucking ages, but the character development is solid. Like, you see Sanji as a child, he's working on a boat, and he's like, he's scraping leftovers into the bin, and the cooks are like, oh, yum, 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 leftovers. And he's like, you guys are disgusting, why would you eat leftovers? Just then, pirates attack. It's Red Leg Zeph, and he's like, take all of their money, but not their food. And then just then, like, a storm starts and shipwrecks them. Sanji and Red Leg Zeph get stuck on just an island in the middle of nowhere, and Red Leg Zeph is like, here's a bag of food. If you eat it like you normally would, it might last you 5 days. If you're smart, I don't know how long it will last you. And he walks off with a much larger bag, and Sanji's like, hey, you've got way more food than me. He's like, of course, I'm an adult. I need more food than you. And then just goes, I'm going to go sit on this side of the island. You sit here. If either of us sees a boat, then we'll see each other. And so, like, there's a little bit of the short story of Sanji as, like, an 8-year-old being like, I'm so hungry, but I have to think about how to eat this. And he gets to, like, day 25, I think. And he's like, I've got no food left. I'm going to die. I need to go see if Zeph has any food. So he goes over to see Zeph. And he's like, he sees that his bag is still full, and he's like, fuck yes, I'm going to kill him and I'm going to take his food. And he runs over and tries to cut the bag open and steal the food, and gold falls out.
Right.
And he's like, I thought you took more food than me. He's like, it's really funny. Having a lot of gold. No food to buy. And then he's like, what do you mean? You told me that you had more food. And then he walks over and Zeph's leg is gone. He ate his own fucking leg. And the reason his name is Red Leg Zeph is because he never punched people. He only kicked them, and his legs would be red with his enemy's blood. And so now he can't kick people anymore. Oh my god. You know what? It was a little bit, it's camp, but I totally got it. I was like, that is good writing.
Nice. Yeah.
There's other stuff going on as well, but no, I'm on the One Piece train, man. I'm not going to read it really quickly, but definitely see the appeal.
How many chapters are there?
900, and it's still going.
900 chapters.
And it's still going.
Do they use like one chapter per episode when they're making it into anime?
No, they don't. No? But then they said that what happens with the anime is they end up catching up to the manga, and then they have to do not just filler episodes, an entire filler season. Jeez. I've heard that one of the filler seasons in particular is really good. Like, the director got the material and was like, we could fuck with this.
They did
something really interesting. Yeah, so like, apparently that season is they are on an island in the sky, and then they fall from it, and he's like, and normally what would happen is they would just fall from the island and then they would go somewhere else. Because like the main thrust is that there's all these islands on this, there's like very little land mass on this world. Right. So, but all of the islands have their own geology and species. Like there's a bunch of humans, but there's also like animal people and shit. So like normally what would happen is they would just fall from the sky and they go to a new island. What the director of this anime did for the filler season is they didn't just fall from the sky into an island, they fell into the middle of like a, what's it called? Like a peninsula that is run by the Navy. So they are pirates in the middle of a Navy base, and they have to try and figure out how to escape. And that's the whole season, is them just trying to get out of this Navy base.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to watch the anime. I tried watching it. It's really hard to watch.
Why?
It's because it's 20-minute episodes and they're really slow.
Right.
Not much happens. The voice acting isn't that good. But the manga is really good, and I've heard the manga is way better anyway. So
Cool.
Hey, One Piece anime fans, if you've got an episode that you really like, that you think is really good,
or an arc,
tell us about it. Write to us at Gmail or any of the Facebooks and things. Because I do want to watch some, but it's too many to watch the entire thing. So
definitely.
Just tell us which episodes would be good to watch as like one-offs and things to get an idea for what One Piece is like.
Yeah, on that One Piece train. But Robert.
I didn't have a lot of time. I've watched. I'll tell you what I've watched. I've watched lectures. I've watched slides. I've watched tutorial videos. I've been very busy at uni. One thing I've noticed that I really dislike now is that I've watched one episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! And so Netflix, every time I log on, is saying, keep watching new Yu-Gi-Oh! Eventually I caved and I watched one more episode of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh, shit.
Because I was like, I just want to make sure that I get it.
Yeah.
and it turns out I get it.
Yeah.
The second episode was just as zany and crazy and even worse than DBZ for inconsistencies. And
Oh, no,
just
definitely.
Horrible. Yeah, really awful.
Fun game, though.
So now I'm definitely done with Yu-Gi-Oh! I just need to find a way of deleting it from my Netflix recently
Give it a thumbs
watched.
down?
Oh yeah, maybe that'll
You
work.
can delete it.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to find a way.
Yeah.
I started watching Sailor Moon. I got about 15 minutes in and then I was like, oh shit, I remember Joel told me that there's like one to watch and one to not watch and I don't want the same sort of Yu-Gi-Oh! Situation. Didn't you say like Sailor Moon Crystal or something?
It's the remake.
And that's the one to avoid?
Yeah, because it came out in
I
like
think
2015.
Right, I think that's the one I started watching.
Yeah.
So I'll have to find time and watch that. But it starts with her mum's like, you're going to be late for school. And then she gets up and she runs down and she runs outside and she trips over a cat and she takes some elastoplasts off the cat. Some what do they call them? What's the
Plasters.
Band-Aids. I'm trying to think of the non-brand name for them. Takes off some Band-Aids from the cat. And it's got like a weird moon shape on its head. And then she gets to school. And I'm like, why did her mum not wake her up until she was like a few minutes away from school? You're going to be late in 2 minutes' time. And then they talk about Sailor V, who's like some sort of vigilante superhero fighting crime. And why do you call her Sailor? And it's because she wears a sailor suit.
Yeah.
Is what she meant? Is what she's wearing meant to look like
A sailor
she's
suit.
a sailor?
Is it like so in Japanese
'Cause it
schools?
doesn't.
If you've seen Kill la Kill, you would know this. In Japanese schools, the uniforms, all schools have a uniform, not like how in some American and some New Zealand schools don't have a uniform. The girls' uniform is based after the Navy uniforms, and the men's uniforms are based after their army uniforms. So it's just she's wearing a sailor uniform.
Oh,
But
okay, so it's
Right.
like so the school uniforms for Japanese girls is based on sailors, based on
Yeah.
naval officers.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Cool. And then like a couple minutes after that, I was like, oh shit, I think I'm watching the wrong one. So that's all I've seen. And I don't think I've done anything else that's relevant to anime.
I think that's going to do it for episode 28 of Keep Your Friends Close and Your Enemies Closer. Man, adding in like episode 0 and other stuff has been a bad idea. Next week, we are going to be watching the movie Ninja Scroll because we like to have a little bit of a palate cleanser in between seasons. And then we will also announce the next anime that we're going to be watching for season 3. But until next week, I have been Joel, your anime lecturer. Oh no! Wait! Fuck! Holy shit! If you want to get in touch, like Robert suggested, you can do so at KYFCaYAC at gmail.com. We're on all of the social media. We'd love to get in touch. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you thought of Violet Evergarden or anything else we've talked about. But until next week, I have been Joel, your anime lecturer.
I've been Robert, your anime freshman.
Being Curtis, your anime cleaner.
And that's the end of... That's it.
Bye.
See ya.